Welcome to the first episode of the Ball First podcast. I'm your host, Anthony, and today we'll be going over NBA Finals preview. Just want to say that looking to do these weekly. School got a summer class that I'm doing, and also still working, so might not happen. But got a couple things, an idea or in my mind that I want to do for the World Cup. And, hoping to bring a couple of my friends on. Maybe even my dad. Um, yeah, just stuff for the World Cup really. But like I said, episode one today we'll be going over the NBA Finals. They start tomorrow, June 3rd. Just wanted to get this out the way, do a quick little introduction. First episode, obviously, basketball is my sport that I love the most. And so would love for my first episode to be covering the basketball, even though season's coming to an end. And just want to say, wow, what a season. And, as a Mavs fan, hurts to see the Spurs in the finals. Hurts to see former Maverick Jalen Brunson in the finals. But this is a great matchup. This is one that I think could possibly be one of the most watched ones. Especially for me, I feel like this is probably maybe third in enjoyment for me the last maybe 6 years. I would say for me, one, obviously the Mavs, even though we lost. Two was last season's. I know a lot of people didn't like that, thinking as they saw the Pacers didn't deserve to be there. But for me, the Spurs and this next one's a really fun matchup. And yeah, we'll just go over. I think I want to start with the Knicks. Very dominant team this playoffs. Very, very dominant, as we can see here with the bracket pulled up. Only two losses to get here, get to the finals. Only two losses, back-to-back sweeps against the 76ers and the Cavs. And this Knicks team's been very dominant. And I know many people have been calling the Thunder Spurs series that true NBA Finals, but I think this is a great matchup. And obviously, we know. I'm not sure exactly who defeated who. Let me see. I'll pull it up on real right here real quick. Let me see. Last couple matchups. See, Knicks beat them in March, lost to them in December only by two, and they beat them in the NBA Cup. And so, this is a very fun matchup. I know, obviously, regular season. Yo, this camera. I know regular season differs from postseason, obviously, as we can see. But yeah, Knicks, Jalen Brunson's been playing out of his mind. Although he's somewhat of a defensive liability, I think that the rest of the team can do a really good job in covering for that. Karl Anthony Towns has been balling out this postseason. And this is a really great matchup, I just want to say. And Knicks coming off a rest, obviously swept the Cavs, so they have way more rest than the Spurs did, as the Spurs just went through an absolute war with the defending champs, the Thunder. We'll get to them right here in a second. And just 27 years since the Knicks last made the finals. Obviously, the last time they made the finals going against the Spurs back in 1999. They also lost this series, not entirely too sure how many games off the top of my head. And yeah, just feel like the Knicks have shown a lot of fight, a lot of they've gone through a lot of adversity this year, and just really happy to see them here. I know the New York fans are some of the most entertaining in the country, and they talk about National Guard. Gonna need to call the National Guard if they win the finals, which I think is true, man. This Knicks team's very passionate, and even the fans. I think I believe they'll take a couple games. Not sure. I won't get my full prediction yet, but I think they can definitely take a couple games, and this isn't a pushover at all. And so biggest storyline for the Knicks that I have is just, can Jalen Brunson be the number one guy, number one option on an NBA winning team, on a finals winning team? I know, I believe he recently came out, talked in an interview that he was tired of being the shadow, behind Luka. Obviously we know Luka, my favorite player, one of the most talented guys in the NBA. I think we can all agree on that. And so is Jalen Brunson. But Jalen Brunson being the undersized guard, not many people saw the potential. I saw it. Don't wanna give myself the oracle there just yet, but I definitely saw it. He was definitely blossoming into the person he was his last season there in Dallas. I was really upset that we didn't get to keep him. I know the Knicks got a tampering fine. Excuse me. Got a tampering fine. To sign Jalen Brunson, and so a little still bittersweet to see him in the finals. But yeah, Jalen Brunson, can he be the number one option on a finals winning team? And for me personally, I think he can. Jalen Brunson has been that guy, will continue to be that guy. I know he's getting a little bit up there in age. It's crazy to say, just only because the new generation started to come in. But he's already been in the league 7 years, I believe. 7 years. This would be his, going into next season will be his eighth. And that's the biggest storyline I have there. Can Karl Anthony Towns back up his talk? I know a couple years ago he was also disrespecting another former Mav. Maybe not disrespecting, but showing confidence in himself, saying he was the best big shooting man ever. And while I think it's Dirk, and I think it'll forever be Dirk, Karl Anthony Towns has been balling out this postseason. I'm sure I've already touched up on that. But yeah, just really excited for the Knicks. Hopefully they can pull this off as I'm rooting for the Knicks. As a Mavs fan, former Jalen Brunson there, and obviously don't want the Spurs to win. But speaking of the Spurs, let's jump to their side of the bracket. As we can see here, first round matchup defeated the Trailblazers. Not much going on there. The only game they lost there was when Wemby got the concussion. Timberwolves, obviously Anthony Edwards, one of the also biggest young up and coming stars, and that was a really good matchup. Obviously, uh, it's a what did I say? The 4-2 shows different than what really happened. I believe. I think Timberwolves played a great series, but obviously Spurs just a better team than the number 2 seed for a reason. And then the series that everybody loved, one of the best series, one of the most anticipated series, one of the just best series we could have possibly gotten. And maybe I do understand why people said this was finals. Number 1 Thunder versus number 2 Spurs. What a series! Went all the way to Game 7. Spurs take Game 1. OKC take 2 straight. Spurs tie 2-2, 3-2 Thunder, and then 2 straight for the Spurs to carry out that series. And then Victor Wembanyama, Western Conference Finals MVP, just played lights out, played crazy. And this is really the beginning of the Wemby era. As a Cooper Flag and a Mavericks fan, it kind of hurts me to say, but I think we all knew this would happen at some point. And to see that it happened in only his third year, I believe, in the NBA, Spurs are a very well-run organization, and they built the proper team around him. Although, separate topic, got gifted 3 top 5 picks in 4 seasons. But yeah, separate topic. That's another topic. But as a Mavs fan, just gotta show respect where respect is, or just gotta give respect where respect is given or earned. And Wemby earned it. Wemby played great. I know box scores. We can talk about that a little bit. Go over here to real again. Let's just go look at Wemby's past performances. Look at this. We had the 41 point, 24 rebound in Game 1 OKC with that obviously crazy game winner, or not game winner, the game tire, the 28 fast break equalizing bomb. And for me, this Game 7 was, I feel like, another really good performance. Um, a lot of the times he gets the stocks, but even when he doesn't, I think you should be able to see the defensive pressure he puts there with only 2 stocks. But man, he took Chet's confidence, and that's a separate topic. We're talking about the Spurs and the Knicks here. But yeah, best player has to be Wemby. I believe one of the younger players in the series, but already one of the best. This guy's an alien, man. Not really much else to say. And yeah, so we talked about both teams' paths to the finals. I just want to break down this matchup a little bit more, before I get out of here. Just a quick little podcast. I think that let's see, let's go to the matchups over here. If we just go head to head, ignore my Karl Anthony Towns card. Um, Jalen Brunson, depending who starts, I think De'Aaron Fox will get the start over Harper, maybe. Or let's see who they started in Game 7. I know Fox has been dealing with a couple of injuries. Let's see. All right, had a little bit of a little intermission there. It took me a little bit to find the starting lineups, and as we can see here that I have it pulled up, De'Aaron Fox at the start over Dylan Harper, and I understand that De'Aaron Fox being the veteran, and that just goes to show I want to say necessarily the depth that the Spurs have, but being able to have somebody like Dylan Harper come off the bench and give you 27 minutes with 5 for 8 shooting coming off the bench, and that's something that I think can really propel the Spurs to beat the Knicks. Not saying that the Knicks, are better on paper, but just being able to have these people come off the bench and give you these minutes, whether that be maybe they decide to go back to Dylan Harper. Maybe De'Aaron Fox has another lingering injury and he can't start. But being able to have Fox or Harper or even Castle, all being able to rotate those guards, they have a very deep guard rotation. And yeah, I think for me personally, this is my final prediction. I think that the Spurs will win in 6. And as much as it would be cool, to win on home court, maybe Game 5. Obviously, you don't want it to go to 7 because if it were to go to 7, I think this just shows that the Spurs team is beatable, and we know they are. They're very young, but that the Knicks are actually a force to be reckoned with, and force to be reckoned with. I think I said that right. But yeah, final predictions. I think Spurs take Game 1, Spurs take Game 2, Knicks take Game 3. In their home, and then Spurs, Knicks, Spurs. So I think that's my final prediction. I think for game one, yep, like I said, Spurs take it in their home. I think they've just been outstanding there. And I know the Knicks fan base is very passionate, which is why I gave them game three, the first game at home. I just think for me personally, this Spurs team is just on a roll. Everybody knows their role. I think we all seen that clip. Castle and Harper, grabbing each other right there by the jersey. Cornet being able to, being borderline unplayable. Excuse me, borderline unplayable. Basically, that whole Thunder series, and then being able to come in was for only what was it, maybe a minute or two, and to have that chase down block on Hartenstein. This team knows their roles very well. They've been playing great. Have so much momentum. And I know the Knicks, two straight sweeps. That's also a lot of momentum. And being one of the most dominant teams in recent postseason history. But I don't know. I just think for me, momentum's obviously for the Spurs. And I think everybody knows their role as well, like I said. And I think the Spurs can take it. And final predictions, I think Wemby goes off. Wemby shows who he is. He officially announces it's his era again. I think he goes off again, similar to what he did, that first game in the Thunder series, 41-24. Maybe not something that crazy, with 2020, a 40-20 at that, almost 40-25. But I think Wemby really shows that he's the face of this league when Braun retires, when Curry retires, when KD retires, and he's really going to propel this next generation of the NBA. And this is no hate to the Knicks, no hate to anybody on the team, as I'm still rooting for the Knicks. But final prediction, I think the Spurs got this. And hopefully, if I can watch, bro, the white screen's been messing with my face, with my cam. I think that hopefully if I can, I will try and, maybe do post game press conferences. Press conferences sounds crazy. Post game previews. No, not even a preview. Whatever. Post game review. And yeah, just want to let y'all know, thank y'all for watching. Gonna do a little bit of editing after this, finish some homework, and yeah, got some stuff coming for the FIFA World Cup. Looking to get my homie Junior on here, and yeah, hopefully I'll try and upload this tonight. Thank you guys for watching. See you.